Here we are, another Monday, another live Q&A. Matt, the mortgage guy. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about a bunch of different stuff that's going in the market. Altos Research put out a good piece. What's like the threshold when it comes to interest rates where buyers just back out of the market? Mike with Altos has some good insight on that, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about slowdown in sales, how slow they've gotten. Then we'll talk about some of the seasonal slowdowns that are normal. Like one thing that people might not understand is that from June to the end of the year, every season, and you have to put an asterisk over some of the COVID crazy years, it's usually like from peak to the slowest time of the year, like a 10% decline, right? So when you see a week over week decline of 1% in sales price, while I do believe that prices do have a chance to come down a little bit, it's not a sky is falling 1% per week is going to happen for the next 50 weeks and we'll be down 50%, right? Like that's just not realistic. Seasonally, we do start to see home price decline, right? From the peak of summer to the end of the year. So before I jump into it, I just want to share some personal thoughts. Had a mortgage conference, AIM Fuse 2022, that I went to this weekend. The best mortgage brokers from across the country, the best lending partners from across the country. Whether you're another lender or whether you're an end consumer, I think that it's really great for you to know as a consumer that there's so many good people out here fighting for the good of the consumer, fighting to give the consumer a best-in-class experience, fighting to give the consumer loan products that truly serve them, helping them gain access to home ownership in some communities, certain demographics that might not have thought it was possible, right? Like it's just amazing to see passion, love, and true industry professionals that care. I don't think you could say these same things about conventions that went on in 2004, 5, and 6, right? We know that there was just a greater percentage of bad actors. And while there might be a few bad actors, the vast majority of the people, and I'm probably biased because it's the vast majority of people that I choose to spend my time around, are truly people who are in this business for the right reasons, looking to do right by consumers and serve consumers. So kudos if you're a lender out there doing right by people. If you're an end consumer, know that there's a bunch of us out there that truly want to serve, that truly have gotten past any sort of economic or income goals. Now the goals are impact related, right? So anyhow, that's my 2 cents on that. In today's video, I think an ongoing theme with my clients, with my realtor partners, with my community is affordability is an issue. So we're finding ways to structure loans. We're finding ways to put deals together that make sense for clients and make sense for their finances. All right. Ed Maloney, thank you. Casa, what's up, my man? Good to see you. Great seeing you this weekend. Man, amazing times, right? Kevin, thanks for being a loyal subscriber out there in Florida. I appreciate you. Ismata, you were first here, so you get the award for being first here. One thing I'll tell you, if you're a real estate agent or you're a consumer or you're a lending partner, right now, high-level advising is more important than it's ever been. I'm doing more three-way Zoom calls, more collaborative mortgage advising than ever. In a market where everybody's got sub 3%, 30-year fixed, clients are just, okay, I can buy for 5.25. My rate's 2.75. Off I go, submit offer, done. And that's literally a plug and play model that doesn't have any real value in 2022, and it won't have any value in 2023. What we're doing nowadays, and what I'd like to literally walk through here so that people can watch this, whether it's live or whether it's on a replay, is a 2-1 buy down scenario where this won't be a product that works for everybody, but for a lot of my clients, it truly just makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons. And I'll talk about all those reasons as we go through it. But I like to share examples because I think that the real life examples kind of help it hit home for people. As always, any questions you have, hey, Matt, I was curious about this. I heard about this. I have people send me all kinds of stuff. What about this home equity line of product? What about this? While I said there's a bunch of good people doing good things in the mortgage industry, when there is a slowdown in the amount of volume that's going on, when there's fear and uncertainty, not necessarily in the housing market, but in the mortgage industry space where we go from 4.3 trillion to 2, you're going to have people pitching you some weird stuff. But that's what you've got me for. I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that anybody who's trying to deceive or get over on a client and cause financial harm, to make sure that I call that out. Make sure that at the very least, I tell the client, beware, don't ever, do something like this, protect yourself. And then I'll share those examples with people. So at scale, people aren't getting themselves into bad situations. It's happened more than it should over the last 6 months with refinances that were not in the client's best interest. Quicken Loans wrote more of those than anybody. And that's not my opinion, that's data. I literally talk to data analysts that show me different credit buckets, cash out refinance numbers, and then there's data to show how much increase in interest rate those borrowers received. And when you're writing loans for borrowers with 600 to 640 credit scores, and on average you're raising their interest rate by 2.5% to 3%, it's not good. It's not good. It might be certain teams in certain cubicles in a big call center with a rocket on the top are meeting their sales numbers, but that's not serving consumers. That's not even close. So enough about that. Let me show you this. Fire away with any questions you got. I'd love to make this thing as interactive as possible, no matter who you are. Loan officer, account executive, end consumer, real estate agent. Let's talk about the current market, things that are going on, all that stuff, which I'll talk about some interesting stuff from National Association of Realtors when it comes to market data. But before I do that, let me jump into and share this because I think it's valuable. This is the 2-1 buy down that I've spoke about. And I know I have a video on it, but sometimes in real time, it's valuable to look at. And I think today's scenario is going to be a lot more relatable to people. I think on my video, I did an 825 purchase with 25% down. Well, that might be common in Sacramento or some of the higher cost California markets. It might not be something that a lot of folks relate to. So 5% down, 500,000. This is a deal that we put together today. And for a buyer who makes $100,000 a year, buying something for 500,000, it can be a little bit of a stretch to the budget. And so here's what we put together. And I won't spend too much time on it. If you got questions, I'm happy to answer them. This buyer was actually pre-approved with their bank for an FHA loan. And this FHA loan had a 6.5 rate and a payment of, I think it was $39.77. It was something really close to $4,000 a month. That is a relative, that's a big payment for someone making, $100,000 a year to think about $48,000 a year going to a mortgage payment. So long story short, with a 732 FICO and really plenty of money in the bank, I told this person, if we're buying a single family residence, because they were also looking at 2 to 4 units, conventional makes all the sense in the world. And what we did in this case was we did a 2-1 buy down where the rate is 4.49 for year 1, 5.49 for year 2, and years 3 through 30, it's a 6.499%. And while people might say, oh, this is adjustable, it really doesn't function like an adjustable that can go up 5 or 6%. We've got that 6.49%, which is being written on plenty of 30-year fixed today. And truth be told, a lot of people are writing 6, 7, 5, and 7%, and even higher on a 30-year fixed. In this case, that's the highest you can go, right? But rather than start with that $37.27 payment per month, we can have the seller give a $10,800 seller subsidy, seller credit, seller concession, whatever you want to call it. And in return for that, you get a 1% reduction in rate in year 2, 2% reduction in the first year. $31 a month is something that my client can do, right? Something that sounds real good to my client, especially when they're looking at their B of A pre-approval with a $39.77 payment, right? That's $800 cheaper. Then in year 2, it's $3,400. Year 3 through 30, it's $37.27. I will never, ever, ever guarantee that rates will go down. I won't, promise that the refinance is guaranteed. But the cool part about this product is that if and when rates come down, and let's say the end of next year, you're able to get a 4.75 fixed. Well, a year from this thing being originated, or 12 payments in, this payment's going to go up to 5.499. If you could refinance this thing into a 4.99 or a 4.75 on a 30-year fixed, that would be a good time to lock that in. And the cool part is this $10,800 seller subsidy, the seller credit the buyer gets, whatever's left over after year 1, with a 2% reduction, 2/3 of it's going to be used in year 1 for the most part, right? So there might be $3,800 left, $3,600 left after a year. You refinance in the second year, the buyer's going to get that as a principal reduction towards their mortgage. So this is something that I've got a lot of buyers using this as, call it a strategy, call it, game plan, call it a way to offset affordability issues. I think is the biggest thing we're dealing with right now is just homes. When you attach a higher interest rate to them, are less affordable. The monthly payments aren't as attractive, right? And so that's something I wanted to share. Let me see. I talked about seeing some interesting stats from National Association of Realtors. Multiple offers obviously coming down, right? Affordability eroded. What that should mean and could mean, if you look at it, in a certain light for buyers, is opportunity. I've got buyers getting homes at a discount from the list price and with a seller credit that allows them to do this buy down, allows them to buy down the interest rate, allows them to, fully fund closing costs where they're not paying any of them, a number of things. And sometimes, there's a combination of things: reduced purchase price, 2-1 buy down, all this stuff. Average number of offers received, according to National Association of Realtors, went from 5.5 to 2.5. I think that this data is still a few months lagging, and I would bet that this 2.5 is down even further. Buyers waiving their contingencies, that's down from 32% to 21%. I bet you that this one's a little bit laggy and probably even lower than that. All cash buyers is down. Investor purchases are down. Non-primary residence buyers, that hit a peak of 22%, and that's down in the 16% range. First-time home buyers, they make up about 30% of purchases. So a lot of things with the market are dependent on how you look at it, right? A lot of people look at this market and it's scary and it's uncertain. Interest rates are high and it's unaffordable. All the things, right? Where strong agents I work with and investor clients who follow the market really closely, right? See nothing but opportunity. And that doesn't mean you have to buy this second. It doesn't mean that, like, you know, I'm screaming from rooftops, buy now, you know, inventory is limited, buy now. But there's certainly a ton of opportunity. There's plenty of sellers that need to sell. And in those circumstances, like, I've been on the buy side of that, right? Really, the audio's bad? What the heck is going on? Thanks for letting me know, Jorge. I had this happen last week, and I really don't know what it is. Whether I got the gain too high or too low. I got to fix this, though, for sure. Sounds better? All right. I wonder if it was like I unplugged and plugged back in. So I appreciate you saying something. Let me know if it's better. It was like fuzzy last week. I don't think that it's internet related, although I should probably shut down some of these. I'd love to hear from anybody who's here live what they're seeing in their market. I was literally just at a conference from people around the country, and it seems like it's the same tune across the country. It's just more exaggerated in some parts than others. You know, Sacramento, where I'm at, saw a huge fast run up. It feels colder because, you know, a sharp right turn to where we're at currently is it's going to feel more dramatic than markets that didn't go as wild in 2020 and 2021, if that makes sense. Prices dropping in my area. Whereabout are you at, Jorge? Because I think Sacramento, I'm going to look at median home price, is probably in the top 10 when you look at median home price decline. Let me pull up Sacramento. Got a market action index. Median list price. So June, if we looked at like a 7-day average in June, let me share this. I bet you San Bernardino is probably, you know, acts a lot like Sacramento. I don't do a ton of business, don't do as much in SoCal as I do in Northern California, but I know a lot of my buyers that went from LA County to San Bernardino County. You know, price point is probably similar, a little bit higher than Sacramento, but it probably behaves relatively similar since it's like got expensive LA County, then San Bernardino is kind of an offshoot. We've got the expensive Bay Area, Sacramento's an offshoot. I would guess that those act pretty similar. I'll get into mortgage rates in a second, but median home price, this is Sacramento, median list price. You know, here's the peak when we're looking at 90-day average, 7-day average, you know, June, which is normal for all markets, right? Peaks in June and then starts to come down. It's come down to sub 500 on the 7-day average. See, it's tough when we look at 20 and 21 because, like, it's not as the up and down isn't nearly as clear as as past years. The seasonality that we see in normal years got really flattened out. We'll see more of a hump, and this will continue to go down throughout the rest of the year. Median list price. What else will they give us? Inventory. Yeah, see, inventory's probably flattening out. We saw like a dramatic run up. We're like, come on, baby. We need a lot more inventory. I mean, on the buy side, if we want to see prices come down, if we want to see more and more deals. Average days on market. This one will be fun. The 7-day average is this line. 60. Wow. Just in June, that was sub 40. So that's gone up 50%. Average days on market. Median days on market, 42. Huh. February, it was 7. Look at that. Median days on market. It's like 7. That is crazy. Meaning so much stuff sold 2, 3, 4 days to pull that median down that low. All right, prices dropping in my area, San Bernardino County. All right, Gypsy Tree, let's look at the 10-year. Let's look at mortgage rates today. Yay, they came down a little bit. Altos Research today talked about 5.5% being kind of the interest rate, which really put a lid on demand, really pumped the brakes on demand. And I think he's right. I think that 5.5 was, the 10 years down to 3.64, rates 95 basis points better. I don't know if every lender gave us that much today. I would say none of them did, but we shall see. It's interesting, in a volatile market, lenders are quick to reprice for the worse. They are slow to reprice for the better and give us All right. I think Mortgage News Daily does this at the end of the day, right? Where they post their rate for the day. This 6.69 had another good day. So October 3rd, that's going to go down probably 6.5-ish. All right. Here's a great question. And I think, while I may be biased, tell me agree or disagree. Do you ever see 2019 affordability coming back? How far would prices have to correct to get us there with these rates? Well, in the markets that saw the highest appreciation rates, Boise, Idaho is a great example. In some sub-markets in Boise, Idaho, prices between 2019 and 2022 are up like ridiculous, 70, 80%. And so let's call it a $300,000 house in 2019 that went up 70%. So it went up to 510. And you can't say went up 70 needs to come down 70. It's not how math works. So it went from 300 to 510 because it went up 70%. To get from 510 back to 300, you need to see it roughly a 40% decline. I'm not good at a lot, but I'm good at math. 500 with a 40% decline is 300. So to see a 40% decline in prices, to have it come back to 2019 levels, you'd probably have to see something wild, like 8 or 9% 30-year fixed for a year that just literally decimated demand. We got a pretty good handle on the fact that we're not going to see a flood of foreclosures, a ton of inventory. Like, builders are smart. So builders have slowed down their pace of building. So they're not going to flood the market with inventory. They're just going to sell what they currently have. And foreclosures aren't coming. We know that. Block user. All right. You're not allowed to spam me with nasty stuff. It's against the rules. So I think that's your answer on how far they'd have to correct. Let's take another market like maybe Sacramento, and let's say that they've gone up 40%. If homes have gone from 400 to 560, 40% increase, they'd roughly need a 30% decrease to get back to that number. It would be very dramatic. High interest rates, demand off a cliff, more inventory coming from I don't know where, for us to see a 30% decline in prices. I would never say never. I would say highly unlikely. And let's all remember that if home prices come down, real estate doesn't act like Bitcoin. Real estate doesn't act like a stock. Real estate moves a lot slower. And I think somebody pointed out to me that even in the like the worst of times in 07, 08, 09, the biggest like month over month decreases were somewhere in the 1.5%, right? Like, you'll never see a 40% decline in a year, or at least we never have ever. It would be gradual, and peak to trough, it would take years and years. I think that this rise in interest rates, hard and fast rise in interest rates, is going to certainly cause some markets to go down in price by 10 to 20%. And those are the most dramatic ones. More markets are going to see a leveling off where prices stay flat. Some might see it go down 5%. Some markets will continue to appreciate where people are still migrating to, but then interest rates will eventually come down. And I'm not a believer that they'll ever come down to the levels that they were in 2020 and 2021. But as inflation gets under control and inflation numbers start to show up good and declining in Q4, which they will, because last October, November, December had really high month-on-month inflation numbers. When those inflation numbers come down, rates will follow, and we'll get back to a place where 4%, 4.5%, 5% rates, buyers are comfortable buying with a 4.5% interest rate. I mean, the data, albeit relatively short and a small sample size from Altos Research, showed 5.5 being kind of that magic number of interest rate that kind of quelled demand in a serious way, right? And so even August of 2022 was a good example where rates come down to 4.99. People get out there and they buy. Right now, demand is pretty darn slow. I think when one of the last reports I saw, that the number of home sales in the latest week was comparative to most years, like week between Christmas and New Year's, which is a slow week, right? So home sales are slowing. Not as many homes are selling. We're all in agreement with that. How big of an effect will that have on prices? That's where there's vast differences of opinion. Some people say the sky is falling, real estate will go down 60% in value. Others that are more reasonable and level-headed and understand that that's very unlikely to happen, see different markets behaving differently. Some of the worst probably seeing a 20, 25% correction that's needed and necessary. Other markets, Sacramento, for instance, I think that, a 5 to 10% decline is more likely. And then other markets just being flat. But would love to hear your feedback. Love to hear what's going on in your market. Would love to hear any questions you have in terms of mortgages, different products, what buyers are seeing. I know that different mortgage products is always a topic when people are trying to figure out how to enter the market. A lot of places we can all agree renting is not an attractive option. Rents are ridiculous in so many areas. And so people are looking at options like down payment assistance. People are looking at other options to find a more affordable payment, like the 2-1 buy down that we shared. Jorge, seems like we're headed to a normal market. I would say so. And while these next 6 months probably won't feel very normal for some people, it's, just like the Fed is trying to create a soft landing for the economy, and probably won't be successful. Probably going to be some pain in the overall U.S. economy. The same is probably true for real estate, right? It might not be a soft landing. It might be really rough for some people. I mean, probably on the buy side and the sell side. Right now, I'm seeing seller pain, which seller pain equals buyer opportunity. That's something that I'd love for buyers to hear loud and clear. When sellers are in pain and they're fearful and their house sits and it hasn't sold, that is opportunity. The listing that's gotten 3 price reductions and the seller's already moved out of state, like that is a place where you can definitely go in and negotiate. And what's going to pass some people by is that if home prices level off and in the neighborhood you're looking, you're able to find something that's a pretty good deal at 4.25. And by 4.25, I mean 425,000. If you wait and say no, if it's 425 or I can get it for that today, maybe I can get it for $399 6 months from now. As more buyers enter the market, if interest rates decline end of the year, early next year, even if they decline 1%, that same home might not be available for that price. So anyhow, just some observations, not trying to push anybody in one direction or another. Gypsy Tree, if you look at a chart of the 10-year U.S. bond yield is broken the 40-year descending channel. It was in. A lot of analysts saying bond bull is over, looking at a decade plus of high interest. I doubt it. I mean, I think that like the Fed has reached their objective of slowing demand. It's going to be lagging to see true, downward pressure on inflation, but we'll see it in the fourth quarter. I mean, I'm sure of it because summer numbers were low. So year-over-year inflation looked worse than it probably was. Q4 numbers, month over month, 2021 for inflation were really high, 0.5, 0.6% per month. So when we get those numbers, not the next one that comes in September, but October, November, December numbers come in, inflation is going to be declining. And I don't know how much, but that's going to be a sign to the Fed that like, okay, you done effed up. You done wait too long to pump these interest rates up. But now that you've done it, it's doing its job. And I believe that is going to allow the Fed to say, okay, we can slow down, we can stop. And just them saying that out loud is going to have a positive impact on mortgage interest rates. Let me see if I can pull up the 10-year. I mean, I'm not a bond chart reader by any means, but let me see if the one that I've got actually goes back 40 years, like you're saying. I might not have the ability to go back that far. Longer time frame. Oh, there we go. Let's see if I can get back to the 80s. It's building the chart. Stand by. Oh, 5 years. 5 years is all I got. So 40-year descending channel. I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. Yeah, all I can go back is 5 years. I can't look at a 40-year chart of the 10-year, but anyhow, thanks for joining, Justin. Appreciate you. Good to see my LinkedIn's back on. LinkedIn shut me down. Something was integrated where Facebook reviews were auto posting to LinkedIn, and people were leaving me bogus Facebook reviews that were essentially trying to get people to buy Bitcoin. So LinkedIn shut me down for 5 days. So I'm glad to be back. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all the places. Anyhow, I'm exhausted. If anybody's got any questions, fire away. If not, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to get back to structuring deals for clients who got their contracts accepted this weekend. We'll keep doing our thing. All right. Join us next week. It's time for me to have some more coffee and get back to work. Thanks, guys.